And now we're on Pei Beis Amud Beis. Rabbi Eliezer mati l'chol adam chutz me osa ish v'chachamim oser. According to the version of the Brisa, the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim is in a case of almanas. Almanas shaloti nasi leploni. Rabbi Eliezer is matir l'chol adam chutz me osa ploni, which means that Rabbi Eliezer validates the get, and he says it's only a tanai. It's not like chutz, which is a shir. And if she marries ploni, then she has violated the tanai and the get is batal. But if she marries anyone else but ploni, then the get is valid. The Chacham say that the get is batal umavuta. It's not worth anything because the Chachamim understood that this get is a shir beget. He's basically, even though utilizing the language of almanas, he's trying to cut and limit the creases. And my time of Rabbi Eliezer, so we understand very well Rabbi Eliezer, like any Tanai. Okay, we'll see what happens. If there will be a Kiyama Tanai or Bitla Tanai. And the language of Almanas is the language of Tanai. So it's not a Shir Beget. For Rabbanon, called Tanai the Alma lo Shir lo Beget. This kind of a Tanai of Lo Tinasi Leploni is a very unique kind of Tanai. It's not like any other classic Tanai. Hacha, here, this Tanai is Shir lo Beget. When basically he's saying that you're not allowed to marry Ploni, he's saying Chutz mi Ploni. He's being Mishayr in Gufo Shel Get. And it's not Krisus. Now, again, as we said earlier, but it pays to review it, the reason why the Chachamim would say that, according to, again, one school of thought in Rishonim, that this is called Shir Beget is because when he says Lo Tinasi, he adds V'lo Tibal. So that the get did not achieve anything, as far as Hafkas issues, to be matir to Ploni. But if he said only Almanasalo Nasi Leploni, then since he does not object, so to speak, or the Tanai is not being mevatel if she has a Be'ilas Nus with Ploni, then it means that the get was matir even as far as Ploni, and the Chachamim could concede to Rabbi Eliezer that the get is chal, it's kosher. Umasnisin do kimna bechutz, my time with Rabbi Eliezer. We understood that the machlokas Rabbi Eliezer and Chacham is chutz. Isn't that shir beget? How do we justify Rabbi Eliezer's position that the get is kosher, even if he is Mishayr? I mean, after all, there's no creases. Did Rabbi Eliezer come up with a new svara to justify his position? The Gemara says, nay. Rabbi Eliezer was based on a drasha, a gzeres hakosuv from the pasuk. Which pasuk is going to be a matter of machlokas? According to Amar Rabbi Yanai b'shum zaken echad, what's the derivation of Rabbi Eliezer to be machshir chutz? Amar Kra, the Torah says in the parsha of Gerushin and Kitei, v'yatza mibeisa v'hol chavoisa lish acher. And what does lish acher mean? Afilu im lo hitira elo lish acher. The Torah added two words, leish acher, to reflect back on the Gerushin itself. And the get itself was given with a shiur, and it was be Mishayr everybody except for that one person. And the get is chal. It's kosher according to Rabbi Eliezer based on this Gzeres HaKosov. Ve'Rabbanon. Right, Rabbanon say the get is possible. What do they do with this pasuk? Hai ish, lechol ish v'ish. When it says v'hol chavoisa lishacher, it means she can marry any man that she wants. But if she cannot marry so-and-so, or whatever the number of people that are excluded, that's called shir beget. And if the get wasn't matir everyone, then it's not a get. And that's going to be the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim in Chutz, based on the pasuk v'yotzav ha'isol ishach. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Rabbi Yochanan has a different explanation of the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. But again, it's all based on the fact that Rabbi Eliezer derived from a Gzeres HaKosuv that chutz is kosher. And now we jump to the parsha of Isurei Kahuna. And the Torah says in Parshas Emor, Ve'isha gusha me'isha lo yikachu. A Kohen is not allowed to marry a woman who was divorced. And this is Rabbi Eliezer, afilu lo nizkarsha el me'isha is nifsala min hakahuna. Right? The pasuk adds the word ve'isha with a mapik hey, which means me'ish shelah, to tell you that she had to get only me'ish shelah. And ish shelah means one man. And therefore, even though he divorced her legabi that one man, he was not matir to anyone else in the world. Nevertheless, the get is chal. This is what we call reach haget. And if Solomon Akuda, she can no longer marry a Kohen. Alma havi gita. From the fact that she cannot marry a Kohen, the Torah is indicating that the get is a get, even though he was matir her to the entire world, with the exception of Ploni. For Rabbanan, Isa Kahuna, shiny. We don't derive any conclusions from Isa Kahuna. There are many mitzvahs that are shayach to a Kohen and do not apply to anyone else in Yisrael. Therefore, the get is possible. And apostles hafa kahuna, it's a separate din of kahuna, that the get is valid only to pasal bi kahuna. And we find that in Isurei Kahuna, there are unique halachos of Isurei Kahuna, many mitzvahs that apply to a Kohen. It's a special Kedushas Kohen. And therefore, we don't derive any conclusions from Kahuna. Boy, Rabbi Abba b'Kiddushin, hey, what happens if a man says to a woman, chutz, he says, Aret mekudeshes li, chutz mi ploni, as if to say that you're my hegdesh, you're mekudesh li, for everyone except for Ploni. As far as Ploni is concerned, you can marry Ploni, which again is very odd. It implies that she can have an ish relationship to two different men at the same time. And that's going to be the whole sugya on Daf Pei Gimel with regard to the Arbaz Zakanim, who took apart Rabbi Eliezer's Shita after his death. Because you need creases, or in the case of Kedushin, you need to create issues. Even though Ein Meshivin is Hari, etc. Tiboy le Rabbi Eliezer, v'tiboy le Rabbanon. This suffix of Rabbi Abba will be a valid suffix both according to Rabbi Eliezer and according to the Rabbanon. Tiboy le Rabbi Eliezer, ad kon lo kam Rabbi Eliezer hach. In Gerushin, because of the Gzeres HaKosuv, Rabbi Eliezer derives the conclusion that the Torah is machshir a get b'shir el v'shuv d'chsivi kroy. Whatever pasuk it is, whether it's the pasuk of Rabbi Yanai or the pasuk of Rabbi Yochanan, whether it's because of Hol Chavois Ish Acher or because of Isha Gusha Isha. But there's no such pasuk with regard to Kiddushin. Aval Hasab, in case of Kiddushin, Kinyan mi alya v'inan. We need a full-fledged Kinyan without any shear. And therefore, if he uses the language of Aret Mekudeshes Li Chutz Mi Ploni, the Kiddushin will not be Chal. His Kinyan is not a Kinyan Gomer, it's a Kinyan B'shir. Oh, Dilma, what was the other side in the suffix regarding Kiddushin? Rabbi Abba's suffix regarding Kiddushin in the language of Aret Mekudeshes Li Chutz Mi Ploni. The Yatza V'Hoisa, we have a hekesh between Kiddushin and Gerushin, meaning Havaya Liyitzia. It says in the parsha in Kitetze, V'Yatza V'Hoisa. So V'Yatza means Gerushin, and V'Hoisa means Kiddushin. And based on this hekesh, we'll derive the conclusion that just like a get, according to Rabbi Eliezer, is kosher b'shir, so to Kiddushin is valid b'shir. Tiboy l'Rabbanon. What's the suffix according to Rabbanon? Ad kan lo kami Rabbanon ocha. In Gerushin, there's a svara that shir is passels the get because we need creases. There should be no connection between him and her after the gerushin. El devin increase of a leka. Avol hasa, but in the case of kiddushin, kinyan koldu, perhaps this is the suffix of Rabbi Abba, that maybe all you need is a kinyan koldu. You don't need a kinyan gomer. There are different stages and accomplishments of kinyan. And here the kinyan is meaningful vis-a-vis the entire world except for one person. Oh, Dilma, shall we say no? According to the Rabbanon, we have to equate Kiddushin with Gerushin. The Yatza v'Haisa. And just like in Gerushin, we need creases, so to in Kiddushin, we need the opposite of creases, an Ish's Gemura and a Kinyan Gama. The Pasadi Bailu, after Rabbi Abba raised this question, other Pashto, he finally tipped the scale and he came to a conclusion. What was his conclusion? Bein le Rabbi Eliezer, bein le Rabbanon, be'inan yatsa v'haisa. Just like they argue, the Rabbanon and Rabbi Eliezer in Gerushin, so too they'll have the same, shall we say, splinter off machlokes in Kiddushin. Why? Because according to Rabbi Eliezer, Yatsa v'haisa is going to teach me you can be Mekadesh and Isha with a lashon chutz miploni. And she's asura kol yalma chutz miploni. According to the Chachamim, it's elu v'elu pasul. The Kiddushin is not valid if he says chutz miploni. She's not asura at all because of the hekesh to gerish. Now we have halacha of Eishes Shnei Mesim. What's Eishes Shnei Mesim? Halacha in Yibum in Masechet Yibum Staf Lamed Aleph. Ruvain dies, and Shimon does a maimah, and then Shimon dies. So now, this woman, who was Eishes Ruvain and also Eishes Shimon by virtue of maimah, falls for Yibum to Levi. Levi is not allowed to be miyabim this woman because the Zika is being thrust through two different Mesim, through Ruvain and Shimon. Ruvain by virtue of his full-fledged Kiddushin, and Shimon by virtue of Maimah. See, when she falls for Yibum to Levi, it's Mikach Ruvain and Mikach Shimon. There's Zikas Yibum from Ruvain and Zikas Yibum from Shimon, based on his Maimah. Omar Abaye imtim saloma. Isola de Rabbi Abba, if we're going to accept Rabbi Abba in terms of Rabbi Eliezer, that Rabbi Abba understands the maskana, that Kiddushay Chutz are tofsin. What's going to happen is we won't have Eisha Shnei Mesim. Why? Baruv and Vikitsha. Chutz mi Shimon. She's not allowed to marry anyone except for Shimon. So she could be married to both Reuven and Shimon. Or Shimon v'Kitcha, because Shimon was Mekadesh. Now Shimon says, Chutz mi Reuven. You're allowed to be married to Reuven. So she's now married to both Reuven and Shimon. Umesu Shneim, they both died without sons, without children. Is Messiah Bemes LeLevi. This is not going to be a problem of Eisha Shnei Mason. Why not? Ein ani kori ba Eisha Shnei Mason, my timer, Kiddushay Reuven ahanu, Kiddushay de Shimon lo ahanu. What did Shimon say? He was Makadisha Chutz mi Reuven. But Reuven's already married to her. And she's a Surah Kuliyama mitzad the Kiddushin of Reuven. So the Kiddushin of Shimon didn't accomplish a thing. It was totally meaningless. As far as being asur lialma, kuli alma, that's already achieved through Reuven's marriage. And as far as Ploni is concerned, well, he was Makadisha, chutz mi Reuven. Didn't accomplish a thing. So this is not going to be Eishes Shnei Mason. Because the Ishus to Shimon is meaningless. His Kedushin did not register. The Eishes Shnei Mason Hechi Mishkaches Lo Kigon Sheba Reuven v'Kidsha Chutz MiShimon Ba Shiva v'Kidsha Stam. So Shimon came along in this particular scenario. He did not exclude his brother Reuven. And now the Kedushin of both of them are Tofes. Why? The Kedusha Reuven Ahav L'Meisli Alma. But she's allowed to marry Shimon. Kedusha Shimon Ahav L'Meisli Reuven. Now she can no longer marry Reuven. And therefore, when Reuven and Shimon die, and she falls for Yibam to Levi, it's considered Eishes Shnei Mason. Abaye Omer La Reit Muteres L'Chol Adam Chutz MiReuven V'Shimon V'Chazar V'Omer La L'Reuven V'Shimon. In other words, in the second round, he was matir both Reuven and Shimon Mao. Okay, I don't understand the suffix. L'chora now she certainly is megureshes. Mi amrin amay de asa shara, and therefore the get is cha. O dilma, what's it side to say the get is possible? My di asar shara, umay di shara asar. Maybe he is switching it around, and he's substituting his second amira for the first amira. So forget about the first declaration of chutz mi Reuven v'Shimon. Now he's saying Reuven v'Shimon. So if that be the case, if he's being matir ha to Reuven v'Shimon and not to Shara Olam, then according to the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, she would only be muteres to Reuven v'Shimon. Whereas according to Chachamim, ein ze get klal. Im timtza lomar. Here we look on Daf Pei Gimel. My diosar shora. He now wants to be matir olagamri completely, even as far as Reuven and Shimon is concerned. Now we have a suffix. What if he says Haret muteres l'chol adam chutz mi Shimon, chutz mi Reuven v'Shimon, and now he says Haret muteres le Reuven. Reuven who had in Shimon. We go back to the first one, and we assume that he only had to mention the first one, but he implied even the second one. Haidekama Reuven mishum de pasach be, o dilma Reuven dafka, and not for Shimon, and therefore, according to Rabbi Eliezer, she's asur l'Shimon. According to Chachamim, ein ze get klar. Okay, then. So, I wish you a great day. Kol tu.